Hi everybody, Kristen Smedley again with Thriving Blind and our little series here of setting extraordinary expectations or learning to see, S-E-E. So, typically with these videos I have a nice moral of the story or a teachable moment. This one is just a darn cute story that I love to tell. So if you saw my TEDx talk that I did recently in New York City, I'll put a link to it here and you can find it all over Facebook and my website. But if you saw that talk, then you know that by the end of the talk, I highlight my superstar daughter, Carissa, who was born into a family with two blind kids, and it was her normal from day one. I mean, she didn't have to learn about inclusion and accessibility. She was born into that. And the result of that being her normal, has been extraordinary. And when you meet her, you know that there's just something so amazingly different and wonderful about Carissa, because she's always walked on the bridges that we spent all the years building before she arrived. So at any rate, watch the TEDx if you haven't seen it and get to know a little more about what I'm talking about with perception, driving expectations, and outcomes. But the super cute story that I love to tell regarding Carissa. So when Carissa was around 3 years old, Carissa had a play date. Her friend Kylie had come over, and Kylie was, I believe, a year older than Carissa. So the two cute little girls playing around the house, and they came into the kitchen for a snack. She's still always snacking. Anyway, that's a whole nother video series. So Carissa and Kylie were sitting in my kitchen, having a little snack and talking, and Kylie noticed on our table that there was the Perkins Brailler. So if you're not familiar with the Perkins Brailler, it looks like the old-fashioned typewriters, but this one only has 6 buttons that you press, and it makes the Braille code. You emboss the Braille dots on like a thicker kind of paper. So at any rate, that's the manual Brailler. We have a lot of electronic ones now. So at any rate, the Perkins Brailler is sitting on the table. Kylie sees it and says to Carissa, "What's that?" To which Carissa looked at her like she had 10 heads. Usually people look at the blind family like we have 10 heads with all of our canes and stuff. So Carissa is looking at Kylie like she has 10 heads and says, "What do you mean you don't know what that is? It's the Perkins Brailler." And Kylie's like, "Oh, I've never seen one of those before. What does it do?" And Carissa's like, "My brothers use it to read and write in Braille." And she didn't mean to be condescending. I mean, she was only 3, right? She was just dumbfounded that Kylie had never seen this thing before. So Kylie says, "Oh, I've never heard of that. What's Braille?" So they get into this whole conversation. Then Carissa stops and she says, "Wait a minute. You don't have one of these in your house?" Kylie says, "No." And Carissa goes, Kylie's from a big family. And Carissa goes, "You have all those brothers and none of them have a Perkins Brailler?" Kylie says, "No." So she says, "Mommy, call her mommy. She has to get those boys a Perkins Brailler. How are they reading and writing without one?" And I thought, what are you talking about? And then it dawned on me. In Carissa's little almost 3-year-old mind, in her world, all the brothers in her house were blind and had a Perkins Brailler. So she assumed everybody that has a brother, the brother is blind and needs a Perkins Brailler. And I'm thinking, she has a zillion cousins. Like, it never dawned on her, but I guess in her mind, it's brothers. Like, if you have a brother, they must be blind. It was an interesting lesson in assumptions that kids make based on what their normal is. It was totally normal to her. So we had to break it to her that not everybody has blind brothers. It's actually a very rare thing to have a blind brother, let alone 2 blind brothers. She was dumbfounded, couldn't believe it. So I don't know if there's a moral to that story in terms of thriving blind, other than, hey, in our house, it is the normal to have 2 boys that are blind and have this different equipment, and Carissa has always just rolled with it, so much so that she doesn't understand that it doesn't happen in every other house. She's almost 13 now. She's gotten out there in the world and has seen that not all families are like hers, but she still has her wonderful perspective on, hey, Blind kids can accomplish anything, and she expects a lot out of them, especially out of her brothers. So there you go. That's our fun story for today in our Thriving Blind, Setting Extraordinary Expectations series. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.